We're getting ready for our third game of the weekend, playing against Indiana Elite. We're going to start off with Credidio, Nietzsche, and Letcher, Chris Gintis and Miller at D, cutting in net for this game. Nietzsche squares up, takes the face off, it goes into the feet of Indiana Elite. They take it up from their D and come in on the wide side, left side to dump in. Sent hard around the boards, kept in by Indiana, and back down behind cutting. Miller in the corner. Puck gets pinned and is loose behind the net. Chris Gintis gets it over to Letcher and out. Nietzsche and Credidio in. Pass over to Credidio. Credidio loses an edge. Indiana takes the puck clean out of the zone. Puck now wide, shot on cutting and blocked aside and into the netting. 16:23 to go in the first, 0-0. We'll get a line change with Reynolds, Kruger, and Brown, Aldridge, and Rubicki at D. We're going to apologize for the double glass. There's really no good place in this rink to get the whole ice. Premature start to that drop. Indiana wins it back, and then it gets stuck in feet. Puck knocked over to the far board. Brown chips ahead for Kruger, but it's kept in. Brown took a little bit of a rough ride, but Reynolds picks up a loose puck and carries in. Gets past one, tries to get past two, knocked into the corner. Indiana puts it behind their goaltender. Kruger gets a stick on it. Reynolds and Kruger battling on the backboard. Reynolds, stuff attempt, tried, and taken out by Indiana. They push down through the neutral zone and into the zone. Rubicki puts his man into the boards, and puck goes behind cutting. Indiana's still in control. Centering, cutting covers, and that'll be a defensive zone faceoff. $15:43 to go. We've got a line change. Carter, Chalicki, Paulo, Campbell, and Miller. Face-off controlled by Indiana. Their shot's blocked. It goes to the far board. Carter gets a skate on it and gets it out of the zone. Indiana sends it back in. Puck on the side board. Another centering attempt broken up by Carter. Carter's still going. Has Chalicki with him. Puck enters the zone. Carter goes into the corner. Tries to chip back to Chalicki. Indiana gets a hold of it, but Carter gets a second attempt and gets it to Chalicki, who puts it down low for Paulo. Paulo behind the net. Takes a hit. Carter pushes it back to Paulo. Net came off, and we'll get a face-off. Kushkowski, Bergeron, and Pulauskas come on the ice. Miller and Campbell remain. Kushkowski to take the face-off. Face-off pushed back to Pulauskas. He tries to get a stick on it, but couldn't quite get a hold of it. Indiana enters on the right side. Center attempt broke up by Miller. Puck goes across the crease. Indiana back up to their D. They go D to D, and the puck is out. Nets off. It looks like we got an issue with the nets. Kushkowski setting up. Puck dropped, hits off of Kushkowski's stick, and then underneath some skates. It gets pushed to the sideboard. Pushkowski off of the glass tries to chip it out. Bergeron tries to get it out. It does finally get in the neutral zone. Indiana sends it back in. Cutting plays it back for Campbell. Campbell up the ice. Puck shot on Cutting and glove save. No rebound. Chilicki, Letcher, and Nietzsche come on the ice. Face-off one back to Prisgintis, sent around to Letcher. Letcher tries to get it into the middle of the ice. Picked off by Indiana. They try to go a backdoor attempt on Cutting. Puck into the Fury bench, and Indiana's players stick in the door. Nietzsche on the face-off. Indiana pushes that back, puts it in on Cutting. Cutting sends it across over to Letcher. Letcher cross ice for Chilicki, bounces off of the boards into Indiana. Indiana trying to get that in. Prisgintis picks that off. Letcher's attempt gets stuffed back, but then brought back in on net. Nietzsche was there, and Indiana covers. Credidio comes on for Chilicki. Face-off one back for Credidio. He pushes it to Aldridge. Aldridge shot low and on pad. Letcher's attempt goes wide. Credidio in the corner tries to get it up to Prisgintis. Knocked back by Letcher. A shot attempt by Credidio goes high off the glass, and then the net's off again. Same personnel for this attempt. Nietzsche squares up. Indiana controls that face-off, gets it up the sideboard, and then into neutral ice. Prisgintis races back and sends the puck up the boards. Indiana sends it back down to Prisgintis. Prisgintis from behind Cutting chips it to Aldridge. Aldridge up the sideboard looking for Letcher. Indiana in front of that one as well. Puck goes on Cutting and he covers. 13-11 to go in the first. Line change coming out with Kruger, Reynolds, and Brown. Campbell and Rybicki. Face-off one over to the side for Rybicki. Rybicki tries to get it up the boards. Indiana takes it back. It's a shot on. Hits off of Cutting and into the netting. Puck goes behind Reynolds for Campbell, gets it out to Brown. Brown tries to glove it down. It bounces off of his glove and goes back. Indiana sends it into the neutral zone. Puck goes cross ice. Indiana trying to get past Campbell. Shot goes wide of Cutting. Puck bounces past Brown. It's offsides. Rybicki sends it to Campbell, back to Rybicki. Rybicki's attempt gets deflected and into the boards and into the Indiana bench. Center ice face-off. Reynolds pushes the puck behind him. Brown ties up Indiana and pushes that back to Campbell. Campbell to Rybicki. Rybicki or Kruger. Puck gets sent in. And icing is called. Kruger must not have touched it. $12:19 to go. Same personnel. Indiana controls the face-off. Puck gets knocked over to Rybicki. Rybicki to Brown. Brown chips ahead. Sends the puck down low. Played by the goaltender onto the sideboard. Reynolds puts a shot around. It hits behind the net. Kruger, good steal. Kruger's got it. He's got Brown with him. Quick shot. Puck is loose in front. The goaltender does cover. Reynolds takes a ride. Oh, okay, so we do get a penalty on Indiana for the hit on Reynolds. So we'll go on the power play with 11:53 to go. Nietzsche, Letcher, Pulauskas, and Reynolds coming out on the ice. Chris Gintis, our lone defender for this power play. Puck one back to Reynolds. Reynolds over to Gintis. Gintis shot high off of the glass and around. We'll have to regroup. Reynolds takes it back behind Cutting. Leaves it for Letcher. Letcher drops to Gintis. Gintis to Reynolds. Reynolds gets some pressure. Indiana had a 2-on-1. Reynolds good stick. Gintis carries forward. Puts a puck on in front. Pushed aside by the goaltender. Puck goes all the way down on Cutting. Cutting plays it around for Reynolds. Reynolds from behind Cutting. Over on the far board. Over to Pulauskas. Pulauskas dumps in. Weird bounce. Puck is loose in front. Knocked away by Indiana and cleared. Gintis gets the puck to Pulauskas. Pulauskas decides to dump that one in. Puck behind the net played by the goaltender. Campbell comes in. Follows on the ice. Campbell's shot. Goal. 10. Paulo takes a punch. So we got a coincidental in front of the net. Paulo gonna go for two with an Indiana player. We're waiting to see what's going on. So after the goal, we're going to get one coincidental and a minor. So I think we're going to go on the kill. Yep. So Nietzsche with the second penalty, they didn't give any signs, so I don't know exactly what he called. So with 10:40 to go in the first, Fury on the kill. send out Bergeron, Kushkowski, Miller, and Campbell. Indiana wins that faceoff back, and they set up for their breakout. Up the sideboard and cross-ice pass. They enter in on the far side. Campbell gives a ride. Bergeron knocks the puck around. Indiana keeps that in. Cross-ice pass. Looking for a shot. They shoot. Cutting saves. Puck now behind Cutting and over to the near board. Indiana keeps it in. Goes over to the far side. Shot off of Cutting, hits the pad. Miller tying up. Indiana digs it out and sends it back up to the point. Back down to the corner for Indiana. Circling up top. Fury trying to keep him to the outside. Bergeron working against one. Miller comes over, knocks the puck away. Berge clears. Berge goes for a change. So does Kush. Chalicki and Letcher on the ice. Aldridge comes on. Letcher and Chalicki battling for the puck. Indiana sends it in. Campbell hard around for Chalicki. Chalicki chips out. Letcher comes forward to give pressure. Indiana sends around. Letcher steals it, but then loses the puck. Aldridge puts his guy into the board. And then up for Letcher. 24 seconds to go on the kill. It's cleared. They go for a change. Reynolds and Kruger come on the ice. 14 seconds to go, and Nietzsche will be free. Indiana trying a centering attempt. 4 seconds left. Cutting, saves, no rebound. Aldridge sends that puck hard around for Kruger. Kruger chips it forward. Penalty's over. Nietzsche comes out. Kruger does a good job of giving some pressure. Brown comes on for Nietzsche. We're even. Cross ice and sent down onto the near board. Kruger steals a pass. Flips it up for Reynolds. Reynolds and Brown are in the zone. Reynolds waiting. Puck gets knocked away. Kruger steps in front of the clear attempt. And Indiana gets it out. Campbell knocks the puck to the neutral zone. Indiana sends it back in. They go for a change. Rybicki behind the net. 7:53 to go in the first. Rybicki to Reynolds. Reynolds chips forward and changes. Kushkowski comes on. Campbell behind the net. Puck comes up the sideboard. Kushkowski coming over, trying to keep it in. Kruger gets a stick on it. Indiana doesn't clear it. Kruger changes and Pulauskas comes on. Indiana hits Pulauskas. Pulauskas and Kushkowski in the zone. Pulauskas pass to Kushkowski. Backhand, forehand. Forehand, backhand for Kushkowski. Pulauskas to Kushkowski. And it's 2-0. The coincidental penalty is over and Paulo rejoins the team. Indiana player still in the box. He must have got a misconduct for that. Not really sure. Kushkowski, Bergeron, Pulauskas on. Bergeron gets to the puck first. It goes back to Miller. Pulauskas tries to send it across for Priskintis. Indiana loses the puck. Kushkowski tries a behind-the-back pass there for Polauskas, but it goes back in the zone. Priskintis ties up. Kushkowski gets that puck over to Polauskas. Polauskas to Bergeron. It goes all the way down. Kushkowski changes. Nietzsche comes on. Cross-ice pass intercepted by Miller. Miller waits. Gets it over to Nietzsche. Nietzsche. Shot goes high. Net's off again. Paulo, Chalicki, and Carter on the ice with Rybicki and Aldridge. Puck underneath the official, everybody trying to dig it out. Indiana gets to it, but Paulo pins it on the boards. Paulo in the corner. Carter gets tied up. Indiana with a clean breakout. It's Chalicki's skate. Indiana dumps that in on Cutting. Cutting plays it for Rybicki. Rybicki goes up for Carter. It gets past Carter. Indiana sends it back in. Cutting tries to slow it down, bounces over his stick and into the corner. Indiana digs it out, makes a move past Rybicki, but loses an edge. Rybicki sends it out of the zone. That's not going to go far enough for ice. Chalicki coming in. Indiana out the far board. Indiana dumps in. Miller pushes that up for Chalicki, who gives it to Nietzsche. Nietzsche pushes it to Carter. Carter back to Nietzsche. Stuff attempt. Saved by Indiana, and they clear. That clear goes for an icing with 5:11 to go in the first. Predidio, Nietzsche, and Letcher on the ice. Miller and Campbell at D. Face-off won by Indiana. They touch it around to the opposite side board and chip forward. Nietzsche, waiting in that passing lane, puts it back down to the corner. Indiana changes direction, go over to the sideboard, and they dump in. Cutting stops it and leaves it for Campbell. Campbell to Miller. Miller back to Campbell. Campbell up to Letcher. Bounces off of Letcher's stick. Indiana sends it back in. Campbell back up to Letcher. Goes across for Miller. Miller looking for Nietzsche. Gets tied up. Predidio backhand. Puck still loose. Covered by the goaltender. 4:27 to go. Reynolds, Kruger, and Brown on the ice. Kruger to take this face-off. Aldridge and Rybicki at D. Face-off pushed to the corner and around. Brown coming up to give pressure. Indiana sends it cross ice. Indiana enters, try to toe drag. Rybicki goes over to the sideboard. Rybicki gets it up to Brown. Brown with a little stick move and gets the puck to Kruger. Kruger tries to put that on net. It goes behind and over to the sideboard. Indiana looking to clear. Stolen by Reynolds, given to Brown. Brown shot's blocked. Indiana got one man coming in on the net. Puck goes on Cutting and covered. Kushkowski, Polauskas, and Bergeron come on the ice. Campbell and Miller at D. Indiana wins that faceoff back. Kowalskis gets to it, but it gets tapped back. Indiana in the corner now. Stuff attempt on cutting is pushed aside. Indiana with it on the sideboard. Cross ice pass to their D and put down back low. Indiana trying to work from behind cutting. Comes up the near board. Back up to their D. It goes past. Kowalskis off to the races. Kowalskis had an attempt stop. Clearing attempt. Bergeron with a shot is blocked. Two good opportunities pushed away by Indiana. Kowalskis pass to Bergeron. Nice pass. Bergeron's shot is blocked. Kowalskis comes in. Indiana tries to clear. It goes into the netting. Paulo, Carter, and Chalicki come out. Rybicki and Aldridge at D. Face-off push to the sideboard. Paulo comes up with it. Paulo trying to get it in. Chalicki takes a hit. Chalicki's still down. Ref does blow it dead. Chalicki's trying to get up. Reynolds comes on the ice to join Paulo and Carter. Because play stopped by a Fury player, puck comes out of the zone. Indiana wins the faceoff, goes D to D over to the sideboard. Rybicki gets that puck up to Carter. Carter on the sideboard, getting chased by one Indiana player, still chipping forward. Indiana gets it out of the zone. Carter sends it to Aldridge. Aldridge to Rybicki. Rybicki up to Carter. Carter sends it to Reynolds. Reynolds sends it in. Powell picks it up off the boards over to Carter. Indiana exiting. Coming in with speed. Trying to get past Miller. Miller bumps him off the puck. Indiana is going to be offsides. Carter picks up. Puts it across for Reynolds. Reynolds dumps it in. Letcher comes on the ice. Nietzsche is on for Paulo. Centering pass blocked by Indiana. Miller back to Letcher, up to Nietzsche. Nietzsche's shot is pushed aside. Minute 24 to go. Indiana tries to send one across. It doesn't quite connect. Miller picks up over to Campbell. Credidio comes on the ice. Indiana puts the puck into the neutral zone. Letcher slows it up. Puck gets knocked back to Campbell. And then into the bench. 1:01 to go in the first. Still 2-0 Fury. Nietzsche to take the face-off in the neutral zone. Credidio gets a hold of that and sends it in behind the goaltender. Goaltender places it in the corner. Credidio gets there first, sends it up to Miller. Miller trying to put that back low. He gets caught. Indiana has two, but they're offsides. Fortunate break for the Fury as Indiana had two streaking down. Reynolds comes on the ice with Kruger and Brown. Miller and Campbell at D. 46 seconds to go in the first period. Face-off went over to the side. Campbell with a collision. Indiana still has it. Cutting with the save. I think Campbell's going to go for a trip. So with 31.9 seconds to go, Campbell's called with a trip. And we're going to go on the kill. Paulo comes on to join Reynolds. Indiana gets a shot on Cutting. It goes high. Back up. And then down to the sideboard. Good stick by Paulo. Cleared by Aldridge. 17 seconds to go in the period. Indiana goes cross ice and enters in on the side. Cutting through. Going behind Cutting, taken down by Aldridge. Puck loose to Rybicki. Rybicki gets it out. And that'll be the end of the first. So we'll go into the second period with a kill with 1:29 remaining. I'm just going to step down for 1 second. I'm so sorry. Thank you. We'll set up the kill to start the second period with Letcher and Chalicki, Priskintis and Miller. Face off, controlled by Indiana. They drop back and go over to the sideboard. It doesn't connect, and Letcher sends it all the way down. Chalicki comes in to give some pressure. Played from behind by Indiana. They enter the zone on the far side. Backdoor opportunity goes past, and they try to clear. Chalicki gets it out and puts it into the middle of the ice. Indiana going through the neutral zone. Chalicki changes, and Kushkowski comes on. Kushkowski comes in the middle of the ice to cover. Backdoor. Awesome toe drag by Indiana and a backdoor pass, and it's 2-1. Indiana scores on the power play. Campbell comes out. Brown, Reynolds, and Kruger on the ice with Aldridge and Rabicki. Face-off one back. It goes over to Aldridge. Aldridge gets across center line and sends it in. Slowed down by the goaltender. Played over to the corner. Reynolds picks it up off the boards and sends it, attempting for on net. Shot on cutting, bounces in front. Bounces past everyone. Reynolds picks it up. Reynolds enters the zone wide. Ooh! Reynolds looked like lost an edge, hit his back on the boards, but he's back up, he's fine. Shot with eyes, found the pad from Aldridge there. Kruger tried another attempt. Indiana able to break out. Another shot on cutting. Puck over to Reynolds. Reynolds sends it. And that'll go for an icing. So Fury will get a change. The misconduct's over for Indiana, so they get their player back. $15:24 to go in the second. Bergeron, Kushkowski, Polauskas with Miller and Campbell. Puck dropped one back to Campbell. Campbell hard around for Bergeron. Bergeron to Kushkowski. Kushkowski tries to make a move. It gets stuck in some Indiana players' feet. They go across ice. Miller's going to get to that first. He's got one man on him. He puts it over for Campbell. Campbell up to Kushkowski. Kushkowski misplayed. Indiana comes back in. They try to get it through. Bergeron gets a stick on. Everybody falls down. Indiana shot on cutting. Blocked aside on the pad. Indiana tries again to get it in front. Goes around the net, and the net gets knocked off. Shalicki, Paulo, and Carter with Aldridge and Priskintis come on. Paulo takes the face off. Indiana wins that face-off back to their D. A little sidestep and a shot on cutting goes into the glove, and no rebound. Face-off one back to Aldridge. Aldridge attempts to get it out, gets stopped by Indiana. Priskintis tries to get it out. Indiana puts it back in. Shalicki battling on the sideboard, gets taken down. Paulo picks up the loose puck. Paulo gets past one, gets it over to Carter. Carter tries to shoot, but couldn't quite get it off. Aldridge passes over to Polauskas. Polauskas' attempt goes wide. Indiana does get it out. Aldridge gets it to Shalicki. Shalicki sends it in. Indiana gloves it down. They come in on the near board. Nietzsche's come on for Paulo. Nietzsche's going to get a penalty. Aldridge touches up. All right, so they didn't call Nietzsche's hook. They called Priskintis' high stick. So Priskintis is going to go for two with a high stick. Letcher is going to join Nietzsche for the kill. Indiana wins that back to their D. Over to the sideboard. They've got a man in front of Cutting. They put it on. Cutting knocks it away twice. Puck is still behind him. Indiana on the sideboard. And back up to the point. Walked in and shot into Cutting's stomach. No rebound. Paulo and Reynolds are going to come out. Miller is going to join them with Campbell. So Reynolds is going to take the face-off. 13:22 to go in the second. Indiana controls the face-off. They move the puck around. It goes to the corner. Indiana works it back up to their D. Reynolds is there giving pressure. Indiana working on the sideboard. Reynolds gets to it and sends it down. 1:19 to go in the kill. Paulo, the front man, forcing Indiana to the far board. Reynolds is there. Indiana dumps. Indiana up the near board and a centering attempt. Good tie-up by Miller. Indiana still with it in the corner. They try to center. Puck goes to the corner. Indiana working from behind over to the sideboard. Puck in front deflected, goes wide of Cutting. Cutting, another save. Get a whistle. 42 seconds to go on the kill. 12:26 in the period. Rybicki, Aldridge, Nietzsche, and Letcher should end this kill. Face off of the glass, back to Nietzsche. Nietzsche sends it forward. Letcher has a breakaway, saved by the goaltender. Letcher hit the pad. Indiana coming back through. 28 seconds to go on their power play. From behind Cutting, they go around and up to their D. Over to the side, a shot deflected and into the back netting. 14 seconds. Kushkowski and Bergeron are going to go on the ice. Miller and Campbell at D. Puck one back to the corner. Chilicki sends it up the boards. Indiana sends it to their D man up top. Back to the point. Kushkowski is there. Bergeron comes out to pressure. A pass goes across. Prisgintis comes out of the box, and Pulauskas comes on the ice. 11:36 to go in the period. Indiana through neutral ice. Middle break in. They try to get a shot. It goes on Cutting. He tries to cover. So the middle of zone entry yields an opportunity, but not hard enough to get past Gage. Indiana puts it into the ice, hits off of their skate. Puck battle won by Indiana. Gets knocked away. Bergeron's got a hold of it. Berge enters. Drops it for Pulauskas. Pulauskas avoids a hit. Still has the puck. Circling. Prisgintis and Aldridge on the ice. 11:56 to go in the period. Pulauskas sends it around for Kushkowski. Kushkowski shot on and covered by the goaltender. Carter, Chilicki, and Paulo on the ice. Face-off won by Indiana. They send it down. Prisgintis puts it back off of the boards. Indiana gets to it first. Carter picks up that puck, sends it down. Chilicki racing for it. Puck comes loose to Paulo. Paulo battling on the boards. Chilicki picks up the puck. Sends it to Carter in the middle. Carter, hot shot over to Paulo. puck makes its way to the Fury zone. Porzingis to Aldridge, back up to Paulo. Misses Paulo. And they call icing. 10:59 to go. Go all the way down. Reynolds, Brown, and Kruger come on the ice. Just a reminder, we'll get an ice cut about 8:30. Face-off one back to the corner. Aldridge goes to hit it high off of the glass, misses, and hits the netting. Face-off one back again for Aldridge. Gets it off of the boards to Kruger. Kruger tries to clear. Indiana keeps it in. Porzingis steps in front of that. Gets it across ice, looking for Reynolds. Picked up by Indiana. Indiana back in the zone. Aldridge puts his guy into the boards. Brown over to the sideboard. Indiana puts it to the corner. Puck on the boards behind the Indiana player. Brown knocks it down. Reynolds picks it up. Kruger in the corner. Gets it up to Aldridge. Aldridge across for Rybicki. Rybicki. Shot is blocked. Goes over to Aldridge. Aldridge tries to send it back in. Goes into the corner. Indiana plays it from behind their goaltender up. Bounces past Rybicki. Aldridge back to Rybicki. Rybicki looking to pass it to Brown. Gets picked off by Indiana. Shot wide of Cutting. And then cleared by Indiana. Goes all the way down. 9 minutes to go. Indiana from behind their goaltender. Being chased by Kruger. Indiana steps on the puck and Rybicki picks it up, sends it in. Passing for Brown, gets knocked aside. Loose puck over to the sideboard. Brown picks it up, gets it on net, and that'll be the ice cut. So 2-1 at the ice cut. We'll be back in 10. Coming back off of the ice cut, we're going to have an offensive zone face-off, starting out with Nietzsche, Credidio, and Letcher, Miller, and Prisgintis. Nietzsche wins that to Letcher. Letcher goes to Prisgintis. Prisgintis sends it around. Picked up by Letcher. Letcher turns and shoots. It goes high and off of the glass. Prisgintis taps it to Nietzsche. Nietzsche able to get around Indiana. It goes back to Miller. Miller to Credidio. Credidio chips ahead for Letcher. Letcher in the corner. Puck makes its way to Credidio. Credidio's shot looks like it hit the side of the net. Puck comes up to Prisgintis. Prisgintis backhands it. Knocked down, and Nietzsche's shot goes wide. Letcher switches spots with Prisgintis and then puts it into the corner where Nietzsche is. Nietzsche gets held. Brown comes on the ice. Puck over to Prisgintis, back in front. Credidio in front of the net, bounces past him. Miller's attempt is blocked. Indiana comes up the sideboard. Miller puts it back for Prisgintis, who gives it to Brown. Brown takes a look. Puck goes up for Reynolds, but knocked back down by Indiana. Cutting leaves it for Miller. Miller loses his stick, but does get that puck up to Credidio. Reynolds and Brown streaking down the ice. Puck knocked away from Reynolds. Prisgintis picks it up loose in the neutral zone and carries in. Shot off pad. Indiana tries to clear. Brown keeps it in. Puck goes around. Kruger on the ice now. Reynolds on the sideboard, up for Rybicki. Bounces off of Rybicki's stick over to Aldridge. Aldridge sends it back in. Brown and Reynolds back in on the forecheck. Puck goes around to the sideboard. Indiana sends it back, but Brown is there. Brown battling in the corner. Puck over to Reynolds. Indiana clears it. They've got a man going down the middle. Aldridge comes back, shot on Cutting, knocked to the sideboard. Indiana back up to the point. Shot blocked by Aldridge. Centering attempt. Gets back to Indiana's D. Kruger gets a block. Indiana in the corner. Aldridge ties up, puck up to Kruger. Back down to Aldridge. Over to Reynolds, and Reynolds clears. Brown goes for a change. Reynolds changes. Kruger on the forecheck. Carter and Paulo are out. Indiana sends it down. That was too many. Puck hit them as they were changing. No call. Puck back in by Indiana. They try to pass one-timer into Cutting's glove. Carter gets that over to Paulo. Paulo to Chilicki. Chilicki to one-timer. Paulo took a shot. Not sure what he's going to call here. It looked like a trip. We're going to go on the power play. So he called a misconduct, so we got a 2 and 10. Not entirely sure the entirety of the call. Paulo's getting looked at. Indiana clears, hits off of the glass over to Letcher. Letcher, Prusgintis, Reynolds on the call, or on the ice here with Polauskas and Nietzsche. Letcher chips it forward. Indiana tries to clear. And they do send it all the way down. Cutting, taking a look to see who's where. Letcher sends it up for Reynolds. Reynolds kicks it back onto his stick and behind Cutting. Reynolds enters the zone, gets a shot, blocked aside. Polauskas battling with Nietzsche on the backboard. Puck comes up to Prusgintis. Prusgintis to Reynolds. Reynolds shot goes behind the net over to Letcher. Letcher back down for Reynolds. Reynolds sends it. Polauskas loses an edge into the boards. Indiana picks up the puck. Enter in, and a shot around. Polauskas lets the puck go up to Nietzsche. Nietzsche gives it to Prusgintis. Prusgintis enters. Over to Nietzsche. Nietzsche shot, hits off of the goaltender, drops down in front of Carter. Prusgintis changes. Nietzsche changes. Brown comes on. Campbell to Brown. Brown to Carter. Carter back to Brown. Puck gets taken away. Kushkowski's on the ice. Kushkowski leaves it for Campbell. Campbell to Brown. Brown back to Campbell. Campbell. We're even. Rybicki's on the ice. Chilicki on the ice. Brown moves out to Rybicki. Rybicki puts the shot. It goes wide. Chilicki keeps it in. Backdoor for Kushkowski. Bounces off the sideboard. Indiana sends it into the zone. Attempt on cutting, floats into his glove, and we'll get a defensive zone face-off. Reynolds is going to join Credidio and Bergeron, Miller, and Perzgintis. Puck comes up to Credidio. He tries to get it over to Reynolds. He does knock it away, and a shot is blocked and into the netting. Bergeron going to take this face off. Reynolds set to the left. Indiana wins it back, sends it off of the boards, and past Perzgintis. Indiana to the corner. Perzgintis ties up. Puck is underneath. Credidio comes over to help. Indiana pushes it up the boards to their D, and then back down low, misses, and Perzgintis sends it up the boards. Kept in by Indiana, back over to the sideboard. Centering in front, it's loose, still loose. Puck does get dug out and sent down. Reynolds onto the races here, trying to get to it. He does, shot goes wide. Reynolds had an opportunity there, 2:02 left to go. He goes off to the bench. Nietzsche comes on. Puck over to Bergeron. Bergeron. Pass attempt gets blocked. Minute 40 to go. Puck is still on the sideboard. Indiana digs it out. Bergeron gets a stick on it and makes its way to Perzgintis. Perzgintis sends it in. Indiana gloves it down. We're on a line change. Indiana has 3 in the zone. Couldn't quite get a hold of it. Nietzsche sends it down. Kruger and Letcher on the ice. That'll be an icing. Minute 14 to go in the period. This thing is loose. Puck goes all the way down. Letcher gets to it first. He tries to center it. Kruger takes a hit. Indiana back the other way. Pass across. Nietzsche is there. Puck comes away and over to the sideboard. Indiana still battling. Indiana from behind the net puts it over to the sideboard. Letcher knocks it away. Kept in by Indiana and down to the corner. Pass is blocked. Indiana still with it, puts it in front. It's tipped onto the backboard. Indiana another shot, hits off of Cutting. Cutting tries to cover, gets away from him. Rybicki picks it up and sends it down the ice. The official says it touched the goalie, so no icing. Letcher with an opportunity up front. The goaltender dives and kicks the net off. $16 seconds to go. Chalicki, Kushkowski, and Carter are on the ice. Miller and Campbell. Kushkowski set to take the face-off. Face-off in skates. Indiana sends it out. It hits off of Miller's glove. Campbell comes back to get to it. Campbell to Miller. Carter tries to glove that down and does. Gets it over to Chalicki. Chalicki's shot on net. And that's the end of the second. Still 2-1. All right, looks like Paulo's okay. He's going to be on the ice. So Paulo, Chalicki, and Carter are going to start the third. Fury still up 2-1. Campbell and Miller at D. Face-off one back by Indiana. They send it around. It goes all the way to the opposite side. Kicks past the Indiana player and chipped ahead for Carter. Carter's got Paulo with him. It's in the feet of the Indiana player. Paulo trying to dig it out. It comes loose to Miller. Back to Carter. Carter's shot goes wide and around. Campbell's going to regroup in the neutral zone with Miller. Miller to Paulo. Over to Carter. Puck gets sent into Indiana's zone. And they carry forward. Kushkowski on the ice. Miller back to Campbell. Campbell avoids some pressure. Gets the puck up to Carter. Carter chips ahead. Puck goes to the corner. Chalicki is there to help. Puck bounces off of Chalicki over to Indiana. Kushkowski battling. Gets the puck back to Chalicki. Chalicki took a stumble. Puck over to the corner. Porzingis keeps it in. Puts the puck in front. Deflected by Chalicki. He gets it and puts it back to Porzingis. Another shot is deflected and blocked. Indiana sends it in. Goes for a change. Chalicki goes for a change and Kowalskis comes on. Carter changes and Bergeron is on. Indiana, meanwhile, keeps the puck in the zone. They go for a shot that gets blocked. Kushkowski chips it over to himself and then up to Bergeron. Bergeron chips it past Indiana's D. Kowalskis is offsides. Indiana picks it back up, sends it onto the near board. Shot off of cutting and into the netting. .15:07 to go in the third. Still 2-1 Fury. Credidio, Letcher, and Nietzsche out there. Letcher chips it. He's got Credidio with him. Letcher. Toe drag. Shot. Goes high. Credidio knocks it down. Indiana comes up with it. Good stick by Nietzsche. Knocks the puck to Credidio. But then Credidio was offside. Or Letcher was offsides, I'm not really sure. Somebody was offsides. Nietzsche back to Campbell, over to Rybicki. Rybicki sends that in and slowed down by the goaltender, bounces to the corner. Credidio in the passing lane kicks it with his skate, jumbled by a few players, but Indiana does get it out. Campbell across to Rybicki. Rybicki to Nietzsche. Bounces off of Nietzsche and Credidio sends it in. Puck is in the corner. Indiana tries to get it out, bounces off and goes cross ice. Miller to Credidio. Credidio to Letcher. Letcher goes cross ice for Miller. Miller cross ice for Credidio. Nietzsche changes and Reynolds comes on the ice. Played behind by Miller to Priskintis. Priskintis to Credidio. Credidio tries to go across for Letcher, intercepted by Indiana. Indiana sends it back down. Priskintis sends it to Reynolds. Reynolds to Credidio. Credidio working on the sideboard. Indiana loses their footing. Puck goes down on Cutting. Played up to Letcher. Letcher changes and Brown comes on. Aldridge goes up to Brown. Brown tries to chip past. Indiana puts it back on the boards. Reynolds and Brown trying to dig it out. Reynolds does. Gets past. He's working on the sideboard, chips ahead. Indiana in control. Kruger makes it on the ice. Aldridge battling. Indiana working on the sideboard. Puck in the middle. Brown pressuring. Puck gets knocked away. Over to Rybicki. Rybicki sends it up for Kruger, and that'll be an icing. .12:29 to go in the game. Carter, Paulo, and Chalicki come on the ice. Chalicki sends that puck up, kept in by Indiana, goes back behind Cutting. Miller picks it up. Miller gets put into the boards. Paulo gets it into the neutral zone for Carter. Carter trying to make a move. Puck gets knocked back and over. Campbell gets it to Carter. Carter gets taken down. Puck loose to Campbell, and he sends it in the zone. Paulo changes. Koszkowski comes on. Chalicki digs it off the boards, makes a move, tries to get it to his backhand. Indiana gets it up to their point. Tries to get it past Pulauskas. It's blocked. Koszkowski puts it back down for Campbell. Campbell behind Cutting. Goes up for Bergeron. Bergeron gets taken down. Indiana in the corner. Puck hits off of Miller's skate over to Koszkowski. Goes cross ice for Pulauskas. Pulauskas loses the puck at the blue line, and they're offsides. .11:07 left to go in the game. Still 2-1 Fury. Nietzsche, Credidio, Letcher come back on the ice. Priskintis and Aldridge paired up at D. Indiana wins the faceoff back. Letcher giving pressure. Indiana goes cross ice where Credidio is, gets past Credidio, and goes wide of Aldridge. Shot off of Cutting's shoulder and across. Letcher's able to chip it into the neutral ice. Priskintis picks up the loose puck and sends it into the corner. Shot goes across the crease up to Nietzsche. Nietzsche shot into the glove of the Indiana goaltender. Indiana wins the faceoff, and they send it around to the far side of the boards, entering, and a shot is deflected into the netting. Nietzsche squares up to take the faceoff. Puck won back by Nietzsche to Aldridge, up for Credidio. Credidio tries to send that out of the zone. It gets tied up on the sideboard. Dug out by Aldridge and over to Priskintis. Letcher avoids some contact. Indiana comes away with the puck. Rubicki comes on the ice for Priskintis. Attempt by Indiana hits off of the glass. The puck makes it out of the zone. Indiana has to regroup. Nietzsche changes and Reynolds comes on. Credidio picks a pocket, gets it up to Reynolds. Reynolds sends the puck in. Letcher goes for a change. Brown comes on the ice. Indiana plays up the sideboard. Kruger's on the ice for Credidio. Puck comes around. Campbell works it off of the boards, but Indiana keeps it in and goes across. Good stick by Kruger. Puck to the middle of the ice. Indiana enters. Knocked away by Rubicki. Indiana works up the sideboard. Puck goes cross ice. Shot on Cutting, and he's got a hold of it. 9:21 to go. Indiana's misconduct is over. We get a change at D. Priskintis comes on with Miller. Reynolds to take the draw. Face-off won back by Priskintis. He tries to chip it out. It gets stuck on the boards by Indiana. Puck comes loose to Reynolds. Reynolds gets tied up and taken down. Brown picks up the puck. Gets knocked away, and Indiana goes back to the other side. Reynolds is going to get a penalty. And he thought, well, if I'm going to get one, I might as well get two. He finally touches up. Reynolds is going to go for a rough. So only a 2-minute penalty by Reynolds. We'll go on the kill with Rubicki, Aldridge, Chalicki, and Paulo. Indiana working it in the corner. Gets it back up the sideboard. Paulo comes up to challenge. Indiana goes cross ice and then dumps it down. Aldridge sends it up the boards and out. Chalicki comes up to challenge. Indiana tries to touch pass it. Chalicki's got a breakaway opportunity. A little bit of a move. Backhand goes past the glove and hits the backboard. Indiana back in control. Chalicki changes. Nietzsche comes on. Puck goes across. Paulo knocks the puck away. Indiana has to regroup. Aldridge steps in front, and the puck gets knocked aside. Indiana picks it back up and sends it wide of the net over to the far board. He picks it up, gets a shot on Cutting, goes to the backboard. Indiana keeps the puck in. Rubicki stands in front of the pass and dumps it down. 7:29 to go in the game, 36 seconds on the kill. Letcher comes out and joins Nietzsche. Miller gets the loose puck and sends it behind Indiana's net. Campbell on the ice clears. 10 seconds to go. Indiana bringing the puck around. Miller, without a stick, goes into the sideboard. Penalty is over. Reynolds comes out. Puck is cleared. Reynolds stays on. Nietzsche changes. Kushkowski is on. Kushkowski almost steals that pass. Bounces over to Indiana. They go cross ice. Polauskas is on. Campbell gets that puck over to Letcher. Letcher chips it and it goes out of play. Brzgintis and Aldridge at D. Polauskas, Kushkowski, and Bergeron on the ice. Kushkowski to take the faceoff. Everybody ties up. The puck is loose. Indiana pushes it back to their D. Kushkowski comes out to challenge. Shot goes wide. Indiana picks it up and sends it up to the other D. Another shot in front, knocked down by Cutting. Bergeron sends it up for Polauskas. Indiana steps in front of the pass. The puck is pinned on the boards. Polauskas kicks it out. Indiana takes control over to the near board and then back into their own zone. Indiana at center ice sends the puck in. Cutting plays it aside for Brzgintis. Brzgintis sends it around. It bounces past Kushkowski. Indiana trying to get an opportunity, blocked by Brzgintis. Indiana sends it back down low. Aldridge loses his stick. He gets it. Indiana trying to come around. Brzgintis gets a hold of it and sends it down on net. Indiana goaltender plays it for his D. 5:22 to go. Nietzsche and Credidio come on the ice. Good stick, Polauskas. Polauskas gets tripped. No call. 5:05 to go. Indiana in control of the puck at the zone. They send it down deep. Campbell is there and sends it out. And that'll go for icing. Polauskas changes. Letcher comes on. Coach decides he got a different line on. And Paulo, Carter, and Chalicki come on the ice. Carter steps in front of that puck and carries it down. Carter shot into the goaltender, no rebound. Paulo gets it to Carter. Carter, quick shot, pushed aside by the goaltender. Puck's loose in front. Indiana clears it. It goes over to Campbell. Campbell to Rybicki. Rybicki makes a lane for himself. Shot gets blocked to the side. Carter took a shove, and Indiana's going to go for interference. .431 to go in the game. Fury with a 1-goal lead. And we'll go on the power play with Reynolds, Nietzsche, Polauskas, Letcher, and Brzgintis. Face off one back by Reynolds to Brzgintis across for Letcher. Letcher back to Brzgintis. Down to Polauskas. Polauskas' shot is blocked. Makes its way to Reynolds. Reynolds sends it up the boards. Indiana gets the puck out. Puck gets past Brzgintis. Cutting plays it up. Polauskas and Reynolds on the attack. Nietzsche comes with him. Drop pass to Nietzsche. Nietzsche waits for Letcher. Letcher goes cross ice for Priskintis. And then into the middle for Nietzsche. Nietzsche shot. Glove save. Minute 29 to go on the power play. Reynolds wins the faceoff back to Priskintis. Priskintis changes positions with Reynolds. Puck goes to the backboard. Indiana gets it out. They've got a 2-on-1. Pulauskas working hard to get back. Pass. Shot went high of cutting. Campbell comes on for Priskintis. Reynolds to Campbell. Campbell to Letcher. Brown comes on for Nietzsche. Puck goes around. Chalicki's on the ice. He keeps it in. Bounces to the middle. Indiana clears. 46 seconds to go. Reynolds changes and Paulo comes on. Puck over to Brown. Brown gets some space. Carries in. Indiana not really pressuring too much. Brown gets the puck to Campbell. Campbell keeps it in. Over to Chalicki. Chalicki looking for Kushkowski in the middle. Knocked aside, back to Chalicki. Over to Paulo. Paulo to Chalicki. Back to Kushkowski. Kushkowski to Campbell. Kushkowski back. Gets the puck back. Gets a shot. No rebound. 7 seconds to go. .238 to go in the game. Kushkowski, Pulauskas, and Bergeron with Campbell and Miller. Kushkowski wins that back to Miller. Miller goes across to Campbell. 3 seconds to go. On the kill, penalty has expired, and we're even. Kushkowski in the corner. Pushes the puck back to Campbell. Campbell loses sight of it, but he protects it and gets it to Kush. Puck up the boards. Indiana's going to keep that in. Bounces off. Campbell gets a stick on it. Indiana knocks it back. Indiana off of the crossbar and into the netting. 2:05 to go. Reynolds, Paulo, and Brown come on the ice. Indiana takes a timeout. With the goalie pulled for Indiana, Kushkowski comes on the ice. Paulo, Reynolds, Kushkowski, Priskintis, and Aldridge. Face-off goes underneath the feet of the centers. Indiana digs it out. Play it behind. Hollow is there and pins. Chris Gintis is working. Puck over to Aldridge, and Indiana sends it up. Reynolds comes up on the sideboard, trying to knock that puck away. Indiana goes back door, gives enough time for Cutting to set up, and the shot goes into Cutting's stomach. Minute 37 to go. We get a change. Letcher, Chalicki, and Nietzsche on the ice. They're going to say Campbell's change is too late. So Chris Gintis and Aldridge stay. Indiana wins that faceoff, but Chalicki gets it out of the zone. Letcher sends it down, and it goes in. So Chalicki does the hard work to get it out of the zone, and Letcher sends it down the ice. 3-1 Fury. Kruger, Brown, and Credidio come on the ice. Kruger takes the face-off. Brown sends the puck into the zone and goes on the forecheck for the pressure. Indiana sends it across. Kruger gives a little bit of a threat, and Indiana regroups. Puck over to the sideboard, and Campbell picks that up, tries to send it up. It gets stuck by the official. Campbell sends it to the neutral ice, and Indiana sends it back in on Cutting. Cutting plays it behind. Campbell sends it up for Brown, but it gets past Brown, and a shot goes wide. Credidio's pass to Brown. Comes in, Brown carries over to Kruger. Kruger tries to get a shot. It goes into the corner. Brown changes, and Carter comes on. Indiana threatening. Puck goes low. Sent up by Chris Gintis, kept in by Indiana. Indiana catches that in neutral ice, and the whistle's blown for offsides. 22 seconds to go. Face-off bounces off the dot. Indiana sends it in. Kushkowski puts it back for Priskinsis. Priskinsis is going to pin. 5 seconds to go. Trying to move the puck. It does come loose, and that'll be the end. Fury hold on with a 3-1 win after the empty net goal. Play again tomorrow at 11. And we'll see you all there.